Hi, everyone. Welcome to Man on a Mission. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening to us via podcast, via YouTube, or just watching us on Facebook. So, what happens in every Man on a Mission live is that we come first on FB Live every Monday, and by Wednesday, we upload it to our podcast in all podcasts. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, wherever you can find us, we will be there. Our aim is to help men lead, provide, and protect. And just in case you're a woman, because we have a lot of women joining us, thank you for joining us here. Thank you for supporting Man on a Mission. You see, we noticed that what happens is that women watch and they send to their man. So that's how it happens most of the time. And men, thank you for joining us. Thank you for always supporting Man on a Mission. And for all my friends and those who I don't know yet, thank you for joining us. So those who are early, thank you so much for being here. And I really appreciate you all. I noticed that during this pandemic, March, it was really easy to be happy because there was not a lot of work. April, still good. May, people got stressed. People were losing their jobs. June was really hard. July, people were anxious. Now it's August. We're still in MECQ in the Philippines, in different countries. It's up and down. And people are losing their happiness. People are being eaten up by anxiety, stress. I myself, I'm dealing with a lot of struggles right now, just because life is hard. Not because I'm just because I'm preaching, leading ministries, or have a business, doesn't mean my life is perfect. It's just really hard. Wherever you are right now in this world, you are being affected by this pandemic. So I just hope that today you get inspired and you find your happiness through my guest. He's a friend of mine. I met him about almost 10 years ago. And he is now the wife of somebody that I kind of semi grew up with, because his wife is the older sister of one of my closest friends. So he's like family already. And this guy, I love his soul because he's so innocent. In a sense, he is very pure. He's very kind. He's very generous. He would always love to help. And it's a pleasure of mine to have him on board. More than anything, I look up to him with his knowledge, with his expertise, with his life coaching skills. He is one of the legit life coaches in the Philippines. Some people say that they're a coach, but they don't understand what real coaching is. But this guy, Edwin, he is like a legit coach. So he's one of the legit coaches in the Philippines. He really studied it. He really helps people break through and all of those things. So I'm really grateful. I have a lot. I mean, my words are not enough to describe his credentials, but I've seen him at work, and he's really amazing with people. He really helps people just unleash their greatness and find happiness in their relationships and all of those things. So I can never do justice with my introduction to him. So, but I'm really happy he's here. Let me introduce to you my friend, Coach Edwin Soriano.
Hi there, everybody. Thank you so much, J. Paul, for having me. It's a pleasure being with you guys this afternoon, tonight.
Woo! Thanks, Edwin. I'm so happy to be, for you to be my guest, Coach Edwin. And before you introduce yourself, what you do, I love starting my show with saying or asking our guests to share about 3 to 5 things you're grateful for. It can be anything.
Okay.
Always just want to start this show with gratitude. So please share, what are you grateful for?
Surely. Okay, number 1, Mr. Rogers on Netflix. What's the title of the neighborhood? Sorry. So it's a wonderful movie that Reza and my wife and I, got to watch a few days ago, and we've been binging on the reviews and other background information about Mr. Rogers. He's an all-around kind person. And if you haven't watched it, go watch it. Second thing I'm grateful for is discovering short films. One 10-minute short films. So we haven't watched Netflix too much during this ECQ, only because it consumes much of our time. But here's something that we discovered just since yesterday: 10-minute short films, short and sweet, over lunch or over dinner,
Mm-hmm.
and we get to
Mm-hmm.
experience it. Me and my wife, we get to experience the movie together, and it's done. Because in the past, uh, I would sleep. I would fall asleep around 1 hour into the movie or 30 minutes into the movie, only because. Third thing that I'm grateful for, I'll share this later on. I've been leading a club. It's called Rise
Wow.
Up the 5 a.m. Club, which means I've adjusted my sleeping pattern from at the start of the ECQ, it was like sleeping at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and then getting up at 10 a.m. And partly that was because I was doing volunteer work for Rock Ed Carpool. But since I changed our routine, since June 1, I've been leading a club called the 5 Rise Up, the 5 a.m. Club,
Mm-hmm.
nicknamed Ruak.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been phenomenal. I'd love to talk a little bit more about it
Sure,
later
sure.
on. But the big blessing about it is, you know what, well, it actually feels like a feast. It's a
Nice, nice.
beautiful community. We have learning, we have prayer, we have sharing. It's like a mix between feast and an LG, a light group. And we start with this as well, gratitude, J Paul. So our first few minutes in the class, it's a daily class, we
Wow.
spend with gratitude. So I have some practice with gratitude.
Nice.
Item number 4, I love that my wife and I have been having more conversations uh, specifically over the past many days. We've been more warm to each other because
Nice.
we've experienced many days of stress and tension during this ECQ. So much that it makes me question, hey, I'm a life coach and I'm getting into these kinds of fights with my with my wife. So grateful for more authentic conversations. Fifth item, grateful for my 5 cats. We have
Nice.
5 rescued cats. Maybe
Wow.
some of them might show up later on. So that's my 5. Thank you for asking, J. Paul.
Wow. Thank you so much. I mean, just listening to you makes me smile. I love listening to gratitude. I think grateful people really share positive energy to others. I love it. So I know I want to talk to you about so many things. So let's just really, I want to dive into it. Bro,
Sure.
you wrote 2 books about happiness. You can be happy hungry and you can
Yeah.
be happy again. So
Yeah.
can you show it? Yeah.
Yeah. So
Um,
yeah. So this book, Be Happy Hungry, I wrote it in 2015, if I remember correctly, and it was independently published. It's so funny because the first time I published it, I ordered 500 copies. Oh, well, initially 100 copies. And then Brother Bo browsed through the book and he said, why only 100? You know what? At that time, 100 was so big for me. So he inspired
mhm.
me and I ordered an additional 400. So it became 500. Later on, it was published as You Can Be Happy Again. So this is a book published by Shepherd's Voice Publications. You Can Be Happy Again. And yeah, it shares principles of life coaching. It shares stories. Stories can be so powerful in
Mhm.
giving new perspectives for readers. And yeah, I love how I call this passive influence. You know,
Mhm.
how there's passive income. Passive income is you have rent income, so you've invested in something out there and you're earning from it, you're earning income
Mhm.
from it. I refer to books as passive influence,
Nice.
even
Nice.
podcasts and vlogs.
Yeah.
That's passive
Yeah.
influence because you do it once, put it out there, and then
Yeah.
continuously for the next so many years, you're influencing minds. Every time somebody watches your video
That's
or
right.
listens to your podcast, That is passive influence. You're sleeping here and then somebody is listening to J. Paul. Oh, nga, that's so right. That thing that J. Paul shared. I want to make a change. And you're sleeping while that's happening. So that's passive influence.
I love it.
Yeah,
Thank you. That's
yeah.
something that I will um, marinate and think about more after this conversation. Thank you, bro. I love, the topic on happiness.
Yeah.
But I guess before we can go further, I believe people have different takes on happiness. For you, as an author, as the thought leader of
Mhm.
this concept, what is happiness for you?
I don't, you know what? Surprisingly, I don't get asked that question as straight as you're asking it now. Um, so I don't have a ready answer, but let me give this a shot. Happiness, your heart knows happiness more than your mind. Let me start with that.
Hmm.
um,
Please.
maybe that's why I'm having some hard time answering. I feel that I feel that people know with their heart what makes them happy,
Hmm.
but their mind gets in the way.
Hmm.
For instance, I remember very specifically this one time when I was really down and out, as in rock bottom ako. And then I was with somebody and it was drizzling, it was raining, and we had such a difficult conversation right there and then at that moment. And it was raining, and you know what? I just had this impulse to let go of this heavy feeling that I was having right there and then after this difficult conversation. And I just decided I want to um, go into the rain. I want to shower in the rain. So I just took off my shirt and showered in the rain. I feel that most people know what makes their hearts sing. But because of social pressures, ay, ano na lang sasabihin ng iba, oh, that's not proper, etc., etc. Because of social pressures,
Hmm.
the mind gets in the way of
That's right.
doing what makes our heart sing. That's one
Wow.
answer. Let me give you an additional answer, which I use in coaching. This is called echo check or ecological check.
Hmm.
Yes, you know what will make your heart happy. Is it is it doing crafts? Is it watering your plants? Is it making a call and having a conversation with that old friend? So many things can make you happy, and most people
Wow.
know what that is.
Hmm.
We just need to be careful that we're not hurting other people. And this is where the echo check comes in. That thing that's in your heart that you feel will make you happy, it can very well be, I want to just smack the face of my manager or my boss. That can
Yeah.
conceivably, it will give some people some
Yeah.
satisfaction. But here's the echo check. This is called the ecological check. Will it be good for you in the short term? Not just in the short term, but also in the long term. Give that some thought.
Hmm.
Will it be good for people that you love? Let's start with that. Your loved ones, your mother. That's why I love this thing they call make your mama proud. Yes, you might be happy doing something, just uh, buying that motorcycle. I don't know that buying something. Example, we have a community, a friend in community. He loves motorcycles, and yet
Hmm.
I'm sure he would feel happy riding the motorcycle. The thing is, he's gone into accidents in the past, and he's a father now with three
Yeah.
children and a wife. So yes, it could make you happy to just go out run in the wind with the motorcycle. The thing is, how will your wife be affected? How will your
Mm.
family be affected by that thing that you're aiming to, that you feel will make you happy?
Mhm.
How will they be affected in the short term and in the long term? So
Nice.
yeah, that's something that that would balance my first answer. My first answer was your heart knows what makes you happy. Your brain gets in the way. Second answer is yes, your heart knows what will make you happy, and yet you want to balance things so that the happiness and the meaning and the love is for the long term, not just for the short term, not just for you, not just for your loved ones, but for other people involved as well. That's my long answer. And I
Wow.
thank you.
So for me, I'm understanding it in a sense. Happiness is, yes, there's an alignment with your mind and heart, but it also
Mm,
should never be selfish. It's, there's going to be
mm,
a fruit or a positive affection or affect to, other people who are being,
right.
you are close relations with. That's so amazing.
Yes.
I love this because, a lot of people now have been, they don't know they're selfish. We
Mm,
some people don't know they have selfish tendencies and all of those things.
yeah.
And I love what you're
Yeah.
saying because true happiness is not only about you, it's also about the joy that you explain to others, that you know express to others or share to us.
Yeah.
Thank you. And yeah, so I love it also because as a coach, you do not define happiness for other people. They should also
Right.
journey with it. Um,
That's right.
yeah, go
Let's
please,
pick up
please.
on that. No, no, we do not define. You know, I'm a coach, and earlier J. Paul was describing that some people call themselves coaches, and yet, um, yeah, and then they give advice. So ako, I'm able to wear a couple of hats. I'm also a trainer, and when I'm training, yes, I give advice or I give
Mm,
tools and techniques, etc. But specifically for coaching, life coaching, executive coaching, the coach comes in not with no agenda. That's one. And then second, my goal is to help the client find answers or discover answers.
mm,
So for me to come in with a bias towards, oh, I want to guide him to become this or that. I want him to decide this direction instead of that. That's that.
mm,
That's not. That's not how coaching is.
mhm.
There are times. There are times. I wish I could give a specific story later on. But there are times when really I actually do not agree with how the client is deciding.
Mhm.
And yet, that's how coaches need to be. I need to be able to let go of the need to tell this person, you know what, that is wrong. Okay? Unless lives are at stake. Maybe that's
Yeah,
one
yeah,
enough.
yeah, yeah.
But when a person is making a decision and I don't necessarily agree with it, as a coach, I need to be respectful of that
That's
person's
true.
decision.
Y- y-
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, because we've been friends for a while, and
Mm,
I there was a time that I dabbled into coaching, studied it, even got some certifications. I just knew I mean, I love coaches,
mm,
and I really respect legit coaches like yourself, and my coach. As of now, Kimilu coaches me. Um,
beautiful.
it's just I found out that it's not my core gift.
Yeah,
It is
yeah,
not really. I mean, it has helped me. For example,
yeah,
interviews to really make a interviewee comfortable,
yeah.
champion the interviewee, get to talk to someone, really pull out something. But for me, I've noticed that as much as it is a good career to be in,
Mm.
it's just really not in
Not for
my
you.
skill set. Yeah, it's not for me just to
Nice.
be a better. And I'm happy that I found it. And
Yeah,
I'm saying
yeah,
this
yeah.
because I'm really happy to see you, and because I've
Mm,
heard so many people say that you're an amazing coach. So just I'm saying
thank
this
you.
to honor you, brother. Anyway,
Amen.
want to
Thank
move
you. Praise
forward
God for
with,
that. Thank you.
yeah, I want to move forward with okay, happiness.
Keep going.
Let's say there's, all right,
Keep going. Yeah.
yeah, there's a person right now who's probably not happy,
Yeah.
that he or she may be lost,
Yeah.
without telling them, oh, this is what happiness is. How would you guide this person, like a step-by-step process
Okay.
on finding inner happiness, right now in this
Okay.
very crazy world?
Sure. Sure. Okay. So I'll give you my first aid. I call this
Sure.
first aid because this is when I meet a client for the first time, this is among the things that I do. One of my main tools that I use to help the person in the first coaching session. I'll be demonstrating it to you guys.
Sure,
So,
sure.
so here's how it goes. Um, After the preliminaries are getting to know the person, building rapport, and just really being friends with the person, letting the
Mhm.
person know that I'm a friend. I'm not here to judge the person or anything. And then I get to discover. I ask so that I can discover more about what the person is going through, and then we identify the one thing that is one way to put it is what's eating you, what's the key issue. And sometimes whatever they present is not necessarily the issue, but that's what they are feeling, that's the symptom. Like if you go to the doctor, you'll tell the doctor about the symptom. You don't necessarily know what it is or what the cause is, but you'll tell what the symptom is. I'm having a fever, or my chest is so that will be presented to me. Okay, so here's the first aid. One of my mentors teaches, the creator of NLP teaches that the problem is not the problem.
Mm.
The problem is your state when you're facing the problem.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Okay, so let me say that one more time. This is a loose quote. Okay, so the problem is not the problem. The problem is your state when you're facing the problem.
So I'm sorry, just
Let's say,
wanna say, for
sure,
those who don't understand what state is, state is how you are at that moment. That's a
yeah,
very rudimentary explanation. So, but yeah, but there's
yes,
more
yes,
to
yes,
it. Just in case
yeah.
somebody doesn't
So
know on that.
yeah, so for instance, uh, we'll talk about breakups. That's one of
Sure,
the
sure.
common places or common contexts that people come to me. So, for instance, there was a guy. He was married for many years, and then for some
Mm.
reason, naghiwalay sila, he and his wife. And he comes to me, and then he's just really full of. He's heartbroken. Essentially, he's
Mm.
heartbroken. I have a very powerful story to tell you in a while about
Sure,
state.
sure.
So when he comes in and he's heartbroken, he is in the middle of the action. Ibig sabihin, if he were slugging it out in the ring,
Mm-hmm.
even while he's with me in some place, in another place, when he tells the story, it feels like to him that he's in the middle of the ring slugging it out in a battle. And you can
Mm.
see that in the way he expresses himself, in his face, in the way he carries his body. Okay, he's in the middle of it. Okay, that's his state when he's telling me
Mm.
this story. Okay, at a
Mm.
certain point, after he has expressed, for some, they might even break down and cry. And that's fine. For some time, I will allow the client to do that. Go ahead. If you need to cry, go ahead. At a certain point, okay. And then I'd ask him a question like, hey, okay, what have you watched the movie Mr. Rogers? No, you
Mm.
haven't. So what movies have you watched? And then we start talking about anything else. And you will see physiologically the way he carries his face. You will see
Mm.
his state changes. That's the
Yeah.
state. That's a different state from where he was earlier. You know,
Mm.
guys, you actually experience this. Example, nag-aaway kayo ng girlfriend mo, tapos may tumawag yung boss mo, and then you answer the phone. Kasi
Yeah.
ganyan. Hi, sir, kumusta po kayo? That's the state change. How
Yeah.
can
Yeah. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
sir,
Yeah.
ano po yan? Okay, that's state change. Okay, the
Mm-hmm.
problem is when you're in the thick of things, your state is muddled. You're inside the arena.
Yes.
And
Yes.
demonstrating that call, no? Tumawag yung boss mo, and then instantly you're able to answer in a calm voice, in a
Yes.
respectful
Yes.
voice. That is state change. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a
Mm-hmm.
demonstration. My first aid is to get the person to step out of his situation and see himself in that
Mm-hmm.
situation and describe that person. You know, that person who was talking about his breakup a while ago, like 2 minutes ago. What does he look like? What does
Mm-hmm.
he sound like? How does he breathe? What how
Mm-hmm.
would you describe him? All these things, and just by the mere describing your situation, describing that person's situation, the state changes. That's my first aid, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow.
You know, that
Wow.
just that process, okay, helps the person think differently about the situation.
Wow. Uh-huh.
If
Uh-huh.
a while ago he just had, oh, I just want to hurt somebody, or I just want to hurt myself, he just has one or two or three ways of thinking and feeling. And this has been happening for what, 6 months, 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
When he steps out, things clarify. He
Yep.
realizes, oh man, his work is going to the ruins.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
his mom, he's not even taking care of his mom. And then he realizes, oh man, he put on some weight. He used to be fit, and he put on some weight. And just that mere awareness,
Yeah.
I tell you, that's my first aid. And I've
I love
seen
what you
people just really turn around just in
yeah.
that process.
I love what you said. Awareness is such a very powerful word. And wow. Just this is how I understand it, right? So for
Sure.
example, sometimes we're dealing with a problem. Like so for example, right now, cash flow is everyone's problems. Even I, just
Yeah,
payables, receivables, all of those things.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
the past few weeks I've been just like struggling with the stress.
Mm,
And it's like then I realized that maybe I should, step back, see things in a different
mm,
angle. And of
mm,
course it's easier said than done. But that's when I realized the problem was so big because it was like on my face. I could not see
yeah.
the embellishments and all of those things. When I took a step back, oh okay, there's so many other opportunities that can be
Yeah.
done, that the life is not yet over. It's just that I'm focusing so much on the problem and it's in HD.
It's in
It's like I'm
HD,
giving
absolutely. Yeah.
uh, um I'm giving the problem so much power over me. What do you think about
Yeah.
that?
You know, while you were describing that, no, in your face, problem in your face, an image came to mind. You know, this rock climbing, the
Mm-hmm.
hobby, the sport, rock climbing.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're up there rock climbing, you're like 10 feet above, 10 feet high and all, and then your hands are just so painful na and all, and then you're grappling, and okay, what's next, what else can I step on, and what else can, and then there are your friends down there, and
Mm-hmm.
then they're looking at you and they're saying, okay, above your right hand there's another. But you know, when you're right there in the problem, you
Yeah,
couldn't see it that way. You couldn't
that's
see it
true.
that way. Another person can see things for you. And can you
Love it.
be that person for the person who's struggling. So let me give something very practical. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
very practical. One way, of course, you can come to a life coach, whether that's me or somebody else out there. Sometimes a friend can be a good, they say, bounce ideas with, that can work. But and then a life coach, of course, can guide you through that thinking process and that feeling process.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a little another technique that you can do on your own. Write about it.
Mm-hmm.
Write about your situation. Describe your situation as if you're describing a different person. Okay? So what
Wow.
does this mean? You describe it as Edwin feels. Edwin looks like. Not necessarily Edwin feels. Yeah, that's fine. Edwin Edwin has been going through this. Edwin is
Mm.
gonna describe it in writing
Why
and
why is
just
it
let it go.
why is the third person point of view important? So like
Okay. Yeah, that's a very important distinction for an NLP coach like me, neurolinguistic programming. There's what we call associated and dissociated. I was demonstrating that earlier. When you're in the thick of things, and I also described that that's associated. That's the state that has limited resourcefulness, limited creativity, limited resources is what we call. Madilim ang paningin of the person
mm,
who's inside the
mm.
problem. I'm trying to get commonly used terms, pero
Yeah, 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 yeah.
muddled judgment when
Yeah,
you're in the
yeah.
middle of climbing that
Yes, that's right.
rock wall. No? And then dissociated is when you are able to let go, release the
Mm,
feelings, the
that's
ways of
right.
thinking of this person, and being able to observe from a more objective point of view.
Wow.
Like from a reporter point of view, or from the point of view of a person who cares.
Okay.
Sometimes when we're in the middle of the problem, we're self-flagellating. As in, ang sama-sama kong tao, ang
Mm,
dumi-dumi ko, and that's limited. That's limited.
wow. You
But
know, I
when you step out, it's it's funny. It's funny because I see it right before my eyes when the person's in third position. This is called third position, dissociated, and then yeah, oo nga no. I'm verbalizing the facial expressions, the physiology of the person, and then she realizes, yeah, parang why didn't I think of that? How limited that person. Parang it's rather funny sometimes when the person and then here's another technique that we use that as a coach I don't need to hear everything that you're thinking. You don't need to explain to me, and
Mhm.
yet I could see when you are discovering something new. Okay,
That's right.
so what I'm describing is a face to face. It's a coaching process. When you are writing, okay, when you're writing and you're able to write, you can write the same thing. You can write the story in first position. I feel like this. I think like this. I am going through this. That's first position. That's you're in the middle of the fight. And then you can write the same story from a journalist position.
Mhm.
That story can be telling the same story but with different state.
Wow.
The journalist does not report, the journalist reports differently from the person on ground. The journalist
Oh.
is able to see things more objectively.
Mhm.
It's not necessarily what's important is it's a different state, a different perspective.
Wow.
I'm thinking right now of an example to share with you. Maybe yeah. Let's give this a shot.
Sure,
One of
sure.
my classic examples. There was a businessman, a CEO based in Ortigas, and he was. It's been months since he's been thinking about what will I do with my business. Not bad, considering that this is some of the things that people are thinking about during this pandemic.
Yeah.
What will I do with my business? What will I do with my career? So this
Yeah.
gentleman has been running an IT company, and he wasn't sure what to do with his company by that time. He had employees, they had steady work. The thing is, he was having a hard time now by this time, and he was thinking, is it time to sell the company? Is it time to close shop? Is it time? I don't know. He at that time he just really didn't know. I took him through a process a bit, a bit, a bit more sophisticated than what I described earlier. But right there and then, in that one coaching session, you will see how different he was at the start of the session with this, and then after the coaching session, you'll see how excited he is. No, parang, oh man, I can do this, or this is something I
Mm.
haven't thought of or tried on,
Mm-hmm.
and it's that shift in state, it's that shift in perspective. It's not necessarily the entire solution, but having that shift of perspective gives an opening
Wow.
to, yeah, yeah, that's
You know, what I'm getting from what everything that you're sharing is that yes, as much as you can help yourself, you'll always need someone else's help as well to really be happy. As it may be a friend, a family, a coach. But for me, the understanding is you can't go through life alone. You can't
yeah,
really
yeah,
be happy. Of course, you're blessed if you have a life coach, or if not, at least good people who will really somebody to talk to.
right.
What do you think about what do you think about my reflection on everything you're sharing?
uh Totally agree. I'll tell you something.
Sure.
I'll tell you something. This is just letting people know that even life coaches like me need a life coach.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
That's how committed we are to our craft. So much that we commit ourselves because I believe in life coaching. I myself avail of life coaching from other life coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, for instance, we have a team of coaches. We have a program in our company, Winning Coaching. We have a program called Skyrocket, the
Mm-hmm.
60-day goal fulfillment program. And we're a team of coaches with different expertise. We have NLP, we have ICF, International Coach Federation. We have my wife is Empower, and then we have Theta Healers. We have Enneagram. We have all
Mm-hmm.
sorts. One of our coaches, her name's Marcy. Hey, Marcy, my buddy. She reread my book. Take note, this book was written in 2015. Do I have the dates correct? 2015. And this book talks about my life in the previous years, in the previous from 2005 to, or even earlier, some stories from 2000 all the way to 2015. So she's reading the book, and then she gives me feedback. Whew, that took a lot of humility to take in. She
Mm-hmm.
tells me,
Mm-hmm.
some of the things that you shared in your book, some of the patterns in your life that you shared in your book, she tells me that she still sees it in me today.
Wow. Wow.
And one way to respond to that is no way. No way, man. I'm done with that. I've learned my lesson. I've overcome that already. That's one way that I could respond to my fellow coach. And then another way is with humility. Here is somebody, a friend who cares for me a lot, who loves me, and who will not be telling me these things just out
That's
of
true.
anywhere. She's an
That's
expert, you
true.
know.
Yeah.
So with humility, I take that feedback in and I search for a coach. By the way, men, I hope you guys are listening. What my friend Marcy was telling me, my wife has been telling me for a long time.
Wow.
And yeah, in that relationship between me and my wife, sometimes I'm just too stubborn because she's my
Mm.
wife, and sometimes I
Mhm.
have a tendency to dismiss the feedback. Or, but when it comes from somebody else, I'm aware of this dynamic in my life. So when I
Wow.
heard it from my fellow coach, I sought out other coaches. And with humility, I asked my coaches, other coaches, could you coach me? Because this is what's happening in my life, in my finances, in my relationships, and I want to make a change. It
So
takes other
powerful.
people.
Yeah. With other people,
So,
yeah.
yeah,
Before
you could,
anything, we wanna
yeah, sure.
honor Reza Custodio
Yes,
Soriano.
she's always
You
right.
are the champion.
she's she's the man, man.
Anyway,
Yeah,
sorry I cut you off. What were you saying?
yeah, yeah. I'm so thankful for Reza for how much patience she has for me, and just helping me grow more into the man that God has called me to be, the provider, the husband
Uh,
that God has called me to be.
and you know what, bro? I'm so happy because just looking because the podcast people who will listen to this won't see it, but those who are watching this on Facebook, a lot of men are here right now. Mostly it's 80% women, but now a lot of like guys are here. Arlan, Ryan, Jam, Josh.
Yes,
So a few guys are here. So I'm really happy. And I just really caught something that you were saying. You
yeah,
said earlier that Marcy said that you were still the pattern it really caught me, and I just noticed this. A lot of men, or a lot of not just really actually men, a lot of people
hmm,
get trapped in a certain pattern. So our topic today is happiness. How do people get trapped in a pattern that they get stuck, unhappy, they feel miserable, just that gunk that you get muddled, that you were just how do people get trapped in that pattern, whatever you call it?
hmm. Okay, that's an interesting question, and I'm actually choosing from the stories. Okay, so here's the story that I'd like to use as a
Sure.
response to this question. Um, so here it goes. I was studying in Asian Institute of Management, AIM, back in 2005, and my favorite professor, he taught a subject called Sources and Use of Power. He introduced himself via email. He said his name is Captain Bobby Lim. Okay, who? Captain Lim. I was imagining this big guy in a buff and with a crew cut or something. And okay, Captain Lim. So I come to his class, Sources and Uses of Power, and here comes an old man in a barong Tagalog. Uugod ugod, and he was with his with his cane walking into our case room, and he goes, "Good morning, class." And then he facilitates one of the most action-packed classes we have. I experienced in AAM. He became my mentor. And one of the stories that he shared, by that time he was around 80 years old, 80 years
Wow.
old. And one of the stories he shared is that when he was in his 50s, 60s, by the way, he's a soldier. He led the setup of uh, some of the airfields in Batangas. He went to he went to he went to PMA and then studied in, if I'm not mistaken, I hope I got this right, he studied in Annapolis.
Uh-huh.
And then, so he was a soldier. He was part of the U.S. Uh, Armed Forces. I don't know which. Okay, and now, so he shared this story of when he was 50 or 60, he was having his sport by that time was golf. And for some strange reason, he started having shooting pain, as in extreme pain on his back. When he went to the doctor, they studied his situation, and it turned out that one of his legs was longer than the other leg. So and then they looked at his medical records. It turns out that even in his younger years, his photos showed that one leg was longer than the other. So how come through the years he didn't feel his back pain, but in his 50s or 60s, he was starting to feel it? That's because his body was compensating for the lack, for the difference
Mm-hmm.
in the length of his legs. In his youth, he could do it. But
Mm-hmm.
in his older years, his muscles, that gap took a toll on him.
Yes,
Long
yes,
story
yes,
short,
yes.
okay, long story short, they put padding in his shoe so that he had support on his other shoe. Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
then
Mm-hmm.
things happened. He had an accident. They replaced his hip. They told him, okay, do you want us to adjust the length of your leg? That can be done pala. Okay, through surgery. After the surgery, his legs length were the same length na. And then he wanted to walk. So he one day he after surgery, after recovery, he put on his shoes, and then what happened? When he stood up, he was like this.
He was not used
Why?
to it.
Because his shoe, you remember what he did they did to his shoe?
Oh, he padded his shoe. Okay.
His shoe had padding. So he needed to remove the padding, and then he would walk straight. Some people are encountering a problem and they're using exactly the same solution that they learned when they first encountered the problem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For example, you got hurt by your brother or by your schoolmate when you were
Mm-hmm.
grade 5. How did you respond? You reduced yourself. You made yourself less attractive or less, you didn't call attention to yourself. And here you are growing up, and it's still the pattern that you're doing. You're among peers, and you feel as if you want to be the quiet one among your peers. You're among managers, and you feel like you don't deserve the top position among your peer managers.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, you let other people prosper more than you do. That's a pattern
Yes.
because you didn't get to resolve how that grade 5 self responded to his situation. As a life coach, we help
Whew.
people. And that's something that does not come from us. Ibig sabihin,
Yeah.
they discover that themselves through a process that we will guide them through. And that is healing, man. When you see a person discover, OMG, that's what the little child needed pala at that time. All he needed was an affirmation from a loved one, from the teacher, from the parent, na pare, or little boy, you're okay as is. You didn't know any better at that time. And now that you're an adult, now you can look back and tell that child that, give the child whatever it is that he needed at that time. That
Wow.
is healing. That is permanent. As in, the cells in a person's body, when he looks back at those times when he was bullied, or the times when he reduced himself, not wanting to excel too much, or not wanting to overshadow his siblings or his friends, when he looks back, he will see it differently. Ay, grabe. He will see it differently. He'll see it with more love, with more compassion, instead of beating himself up. Ba't ko ba hindi kinuha yung promotion na yun? He will see it as learning. And he will walk away from that coaching session transformed permanently, J. Paul.
You know, I love it. I mean, guys, for those who are watching, maybe please message Edwin later. Be coached by him. Um, I was coached last year on confidence. A lot of people did not know that I lack confidence. Um, and when I didn't know. I mean, I was okay. You know, sometimes that during that time I realized that true greatness can be masked by small success. Because I
Mm,
just,
mm,
I know I'm okay. You know, I have books, I speak, I'm a feast builder, I have this. So,
yeah.
but then I didn't know. I felt it, but I didn't know. I just didn't want to admit it that I was already hitting a wall. I was
Mm,
hitting that wall that I could not break no matter how many times I try.
mm, mm.
And as I was being coached, shout out to Coach Kimmy Lou. But
Okay.
anyway, just please go to whichever coach that you see is good for you. Um, she was helping me, and I was really like holding on to the table, like, oh, oh, these are my patterns. So it's like,
Yeah.
and they're so simple. You know, they're so simple, but these things were destroying my life because I could have been happier
Mm,
because I was, doing good things, but I was hurting myself because they were coming from the wrong places.
mm,
I was trying to achieve things from the wrong gas tank.
mm, mm.
And I could not. So okay, find a book, bestseller, because it was wrong motives, wrong energy,
Right.
until
Yeah.
like I was reconnected. Why do I really want? Because, and I'm sharing this because of what you're saying, that I'm just happy in a state right now that I'm happy,
Yeah.
and everything else is a bonus.
Mm, mm.
And just you sharing stories like that reminds me that you can be really happy.
Yeah.
And I really want to honor coaches like you who do your thing. And then I'm just just going back to that process makes me happy right now.
Remembering how that process was with Coach Kimilu. Is that
Yeah,
what you're saying?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. So,
I get that also from my clients. Just last night, one of our clients sent us a message, shared it to our community of Rocketeers, graduates of Skyrocket, and she was saying, "You know what, Coach? I went through Skyrocket 3 years ago, and then." I went for my goals. I was single back then, and now I'm married and with a child. And I thought it was time for me to lay low and reprioritize and put away my goal, my dream of becoming a writer, and etc. etc. And then she was saying, and then in a process that we went through in the past, we wrote an ebook together among our graduates.
wow.
It's called Flight to Freedom. And then she realized, OMG, I was able to make time even while I'm taking care of my child. I was able to make time to be the editor in chief of our ebook. Get our ebook,
Editor in chief.
Flight to Freedom. Editor in chief pa. Yeah, I'll share that with you. Can I chat it somewhere? Yeah,
Sure,
if you
sure,
can
sure,
share
sure.
this.
Yeah.
Bit.ly/flight to feed. And then we made it, i-share na lang ng ating technical team. And then we made it a fundraiser also to feed families in Payatas. And then she realized
Wow.
I was able to be editor in chief even while I'm taking care of my child, which I thought I just needed to give 100% of my time and energy to my child. I was able to write articles and books. And then in the past 9 weeks, I was able to go back to my blog, which she's so passionate about, and was able to put out one article per week. And now she is coaching clients in writing. And then she's just, yeah, yeah. So yeah,
Wow.
it's such a blessing just receiving the help of people who can guide you towards being your best self, not their best self. Okay, I'm referring to if you were a client coming to a coach, it's just really such a blessing to grow into what God has called you to. Sometimes it takes somebody else to help you through that process.
So beautiful. I love it. I love it. I mean, you know what? Just in case you didn't know, we're almost an hour in our conversation. I love what
I'm
you
a
said.
talkative guy.
I love what you said. Associate. You just really have to dissociate with the problem. You
Yeah,
can write down on third person point of view, see it in a different perspective. So that's how you find happiness.
yeah,
Ask a coach or ask a friend. If your friend can't help you, ask a coach. Look for a coach. I really suggest look for Coach Edwin Soriano.
thank
He
you.
can really help you. He can really help you win. I love
Yeah.
winning
Can I,
coaching. Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
can I insert this na? Some people, I don't know if there are any questions in the comments. People who are listening to this, whether live or in the recording, and then you're starting to think, okay, I love the question of J. Paul that patterns. What are the patterns in my life? Then and then most people are thinking, yeah, I want to discover the patterns in my life. Okay, I'll give you a tip na. Ha. I'll give you a tip. And then most people are thinking na, I don't know what the patterns in my life are. Eh. I'm not sure. I'm not making progress in my relationships or in my finances or in my career, but I'm not sure what my patterns are. Okay, I'll tell you na ha. If I were in front of you and I'm hearing you say, I'm not sure what my patterns are, I'll tell you how I respond to this. Okay, here's how I respond. I'm speaking to you, the person who thinks he is confused with what
Mm-hmm.
problems or what patterns he needs to face. Here's how I respond. Most people already know what their problem is.
Wow.
Most people already know what their pattern is. If you could be honest to yourself, if you could look yourself in the eye, in the mirror, and tell yourself, okay, bro, really, truly, honestly, take a stab at it. Give it a try. Say the word out loud. What really is my problem? Is it my relationship with my father? Is it how I perceive my mother or my father? Is it my heartbreak from 10 years ago? Is it my ego? Is it humility? Is it lack of forgiveness or lack of humility or lack of, am I playing too small? You know what? Most people already know. You have a good guess what it is. Start
Mhm.
working on that. Start working
Wow.
on that. Start working on that.
So beautiful. It's like I'm going through my own coaching session. Thank you, Coach Edwin. No,
Thank you.
but
I just
seriously,
wanted to give something very practical to somebody out there who needs
yeah.
to hear these messages. Thank you so much,
Wow.
Jacob, for
Oh no,
giving,
no,
for sharing
it's
this
I'm
platform.
even if we don't publish this, I already helped someone, and that's me for free.
Mhm. All good. All
Thank you
good.
so much. So beautiful. Um,
Hello, Roy
I
V.
just want to be in this space. My gosh. Oh my gosh. People are saying heart 100 heart. So
Yeah. You know what?
amazing. Amazing.
You know what they're thinking? Oh nga, Coach Edwin. Yeah, I actually know what this is. Now it's time to take action. That's what I'm
Well,
guessing some people are thinking now.
Wow.
Thank you so
For
much.
me, I'll be honest with everyone. Really, my biggest pattern always is I'm so afraid to succeed. For some reason, I'm really, I self sabotage on really
Yeah,
complete breakthrough success. So that's me. That's something I've been always working on. Sometimes I
yep.
win, sometimes I learn.
Yes,
Anyway,
amen. I love that. Sometimes I win, sometimes I learn. Okay, J. Paul, I'll tell you a secret.
sure, sure, sure.
I'm going through that too. Self-sabotage, fear of success. I'm going through that too. And sometimes I make things too difficult for myself. Yung bang, as if I want to I'm making things so difficult for myself as if I want to delay or want to
Mhm.
not succeed. I realized it was my perception of my God.
Wow.
And more recently, through liturgical Bible study, in one of our liturgical Bible studies, I hear this verse that says the Lord was speaking to Moses, and he was saying that you know, um, you know, I had this perception that I needed to be faithful to my God. That's kind of basic, okay? Increase my faith in God. And then I hear my my fellow community member, Tito Tom, Brother Tom Yokinko, and he's saying a prayer, and he's saying this prayer, Lord, you are faithful. And then, huh? Lord is faithful? I didn't understand that. I didn't get that. And then we come to a verse where Moses and the Lord meet on Mount Sinai, and the Lord passes in front of Moses, and uh, he says, I am abounding in in what is it in love and faithfulness. That's the key word for me. The Lord is faithful to us. And this is not just me wishing that the Lord is faithful to me. He is telling us he is faithful to us.
Mm.
And right there in that liturgical Bible study, in that session, as I was receiving this word, as in I could feel, I was telling my classmates at that time, right here, right now, something is changing within me. The Lord loves me so much. He wants my success. I don't need to earn the success from him. I
Wow.
don't need to song and dance number. Lord, is this good enough? Can you give it to me na now? No, man. He is faithful to us. He wants us to win. If
Mhm.
only we embrace it and accept it and receive it that he is faithful to us. Oh man, things that was a game changer. That was a game changer.
Whew, so beautiful. Thank you. I love one of my friends. His name is Josh. He just commented, "Thank you, Coach Edwin, for letting me accept what really my problem is. I guess God has really led me here to watch this episode of J. Paul Show. Grabe. I'm so
God
blessed.
bless.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Josh. Praise
Thank
God
you.
for that.
Thank you. Wow. Whew. Anyway, we'll have episode number 2 next time. I'll invite you. I have so many questions I want to ask you.
Love it. Thank you so
Uh,
much, J. Paul. Yeah,
before we end, before you
yeah,
go to your closing message, I want you to talk about 5 a.m. Club, what you guys
yeah,
do,
yeah,
how can people join you, and just
yeah.
please
Okay.
promote it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'd love to share. So here's what happened. I shared in the earlier part of the episode that at the start of the quarantine, my sleeping pattern was just all over the place. I'd sleep at 2 a.m., wake up at 9, 10, 11 a.m. How many of you in the audience can relate to this? I'm sure many of you can relate. Once upon a time, you were waking up at 6 a.m. so that you can get to work by 8 a.m. or up at, and then now that we're in quarantine and we're working from home, now you're waking up like 10 minutes before work, right?
Yeah.
And your day is gone. You don't have time for the dreams. So I made this decision one day in April that you know what? I want to transfer my waking hours. Instead of being awake at midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., those 2 hours, 3 hours, or 4 hours, I want to transfer those waking hours to the morning. Instead of waking up at 8 a.m., I want to wake up at 5 a.m. And I did it. I started doing it. I committed myself. I made myself accountable to my audience. I actually started Ed Talks where early in the morning, who would have an audience at like 7 a.m.? That's what the time that I do my Ed Talk. 7 a.m. Sino makikinig? Facebook Live? Who's going to listen? Surprisingly, people watched. So with this background, later on, I began a club. We call it Rise Up, the 5 a.m. Club.
Show it, show it, show it.
Yeah. So the 5 a.m. Club, this is really space. We create space. Okay. The nickname of this club is RUAC, RU5AC, Rise Up, the 5 a.m. Club. And what do we do? Wake up early, join us at 5 a.m. We do exercise, we do prayer and meditation, and then for between 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. we have learning. And there's a talk, there's a video, there's a reading, and then we do some journaling, we do some sharing in smaller groups. And then after 6 o'clock, we close at 6 o'clock, and then by 6 o'clock, we've declared to each other in an accountability forum what we aim to do, what our top 3 things to do are for that day. Okay, this
Wow.
just gives you focus. It gives you time to think. Oh nga, today it's a Monday. What do I want to accomplish today? Top 3. Write that down. Send it on the WhatsApp group, and then you have your momentum at the start of the day. It's 6 a.m. and what do you want to do? You can go back to sleep. Most people don't go back to sleep. Why? Because they're so awake, they're so fired up. They start doing what's important to them. So my question to this audience right here, right now is, what have you been dreaming of doing for so long? Did you want to write that book? Did you want to get more healthy? Did you want to have more time, more Bible time in the morning, more journaling time in the morning? Did you want to have time for yourself, not necessarily for work, no, but
Mhm,
for
mhm.
yourself to uh, to build that skill, that craft, that hobby, or to take a walk in the park with your wife or with your daughter, but you've always had too little time in your day because your day's gone by the time you wake up at 8 a.m. Here's a club that can help you do that.
So
Rise Up the
beautiful.
5 a.m. Club. Ay, grabe. I'm so surprised how people are just really signing up and inviting their friends and inviting their husband and their wife and their brother and their sister. It's been such a blessing. And I'm the first person to be blessed because just really how people are looking for a time and place where they can learn and they can grow. This is a place to go. Okay, if you want to join, I give an orientation. I share uh, some of the tips, some of the habits, morning habits of billionaires and world leaders. This is the place to go if you want to learn more about the 5 a.m. Club. It is at bit.ly/6 a.m. webinar. We do this on Saturdays. Ang haba
Wow.
ng aking spiel. But yun, join us on Saturday for the
Yeah.
6 a.m. webinar where we share how your life can be changed by waking up. Give yourself 1 hour, an additional 1 hour, or maybe 2 hours in the morning. Just
Mm.
lock in that space and join us for the 6 a.m. webinar on Saturday. We'll share you powerful tips that can help you change your morning, win your day, win your week, win your year,
Whew.
and make
Yeah.
2020 a more productive year for you. Amen. Thank you so much, J. Paul.
Amen. So powerful. So we have winning coaching for really legit coaching. You
Thank you.
can join the 5 a.m. club, and also you can join by 6
Yeah,
a.m.
if you want.
webinar.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right.
So before you get
After
to
the
the 5 a.m.
Yeah, this
6
is a
a.m.
tryout. If you can't
Yeah,
make it to the 6 a.m. webinar, you won't make it to the 5 a.m. club.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah,
And then yeah, so before I love it because before quarantine, my life just had to move on a later date, but that's because of everything I'm doing. But before that, I would wake up at 5 a.m., work out with my CrossFit class at 6 a.m., then just breeze through the day. Sometimes I wake up 4:30, but I love it. I miss it. So happy that you are doing it. You're like Jocko Willing. I don't know if you've heard
yeah,
about him.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. He was our
yeah.
guest speaker at the 5 a.m. club.
What?
Yeah, yeah, his
I love
video.
it.
Extreme
Nice, nice.
responsibility, no?
Yeah,
Extreme,
I
yeah,
love
extreme
him.
ownership.
Yeah.
Jocko
Oh,
Willem.
so Joanne Tan, I love her. She's here. Janice and Natty is saying, "What's this?" Go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah. And Nati is part of our team. We've opened our doors to the deaf community. So we have
Whoa!
members of Rise Up the 5 a.m. Club who are deaf. Thank you to Nati for interpreting for us. My golly, they are so super inspiring. One of our members, Cam, she's an entrepreneur. She's doing vlogs, man. She's deaf and she's interviewing just like you are. She's interviewing OFWs and even Filipinos in the Philippines who are entrepreneurs, who are employees, just giving our our community is bringing out the best and just really exposing the best in our members. I
That's
just
so
love it.
beautiful.
Thank you so
That's so
much.
beautiful. Thank you, brother. I really love everything you guys are doing. It's so powerful. Ah, man, we'll really have another episode. I'll think of something to talk about. And dami, more
Sure.
of like choosing what to talk about. It's really hard.
Yeah, let's do
Maybe
it.
next time I'll have you and Reza. I'd love to
Yeah, yeah,
guys
yeah,
to
yeah.
be
Sure,
here.
sure. Yeah,
Sorry to
and
disturb your Monday date.
no worries. Oo nga, it's our Monday date tonight, so we'll be watching a meaningful film later on. Thanks so much, Joanne, Nati, Janice, some of our friends over there. Thank you so much for supporting.
Thanks, Joe. I'm waiting for your next book. Maybe you can write while in quarantine or whatever you're doing. And congratulations to our friend Joanne for Turo Summit Online.
Yes, yes.
Yes, really proud of this woman. She's
Congratulations.
transformed her life in such a short time. And really, I'm a fan of this lady.
Joanne was part of our team also. She was coaching with us for the Skyrocket 60-day goal fulfillment program. So powerful person. Thank you so much,
Nice,
Joanne, for
nice.
all that you do.
So, Coach Edwin, I would want to talk to you, but we're really over time. Please, please share your closing message on how to find your happiness.
Yeah. We didn't get to this place, but you know what? I'm evolving as a person and I'm learning from one of my mentors. His name is Jordan B. Peterson. And I'm learning more about taking responsibility. You want to be happy, you need to step up and take more responsibility. First,
Wow.
responsibility for your life, and second, responsibility to change something in your environment for the better. So, men out there, all the men who are listening right here, right now, man up, step up, do something better with your
Mm.
life. Is it cleaning your room? Is it earning a little more so that you can bring home something more? Is it being kinder to your wife, to your mother, to your father? Take responsibility, take a piece of the world and tell yourself, I'm going to take this piece of the world and make it better.
Wow.
That's the call. That's the call for us to be stewards of the world that we've been given. Plant, make it better. Grab something out there and make it better. That's the call for us. God bless you.
Whew. So beautiful, Coach Eden. Thank you. And I really pray and declare that God's favor is upon you, that you'll find even more happiness as you help other people. Thank you for, doing what you're doing. It's not just a business, but you're changing the world one person at a time. And I love it.
Amen.
Thank you so much. Thank you
Thank
for
you so
all the
much.
men and women who are here for Man on a Mission. I appreciate you all. Thank you for joining us via my page and Feast TV. And then if you're gonna receive this through podcast, thank you so much. Next week, my guest is Marc Lopez, and we're gonna talk about if you're stressed, hit your life's reset button. So it's really gonna be an exciting discussion again. So thank you so much for everyone that's joining. I'm so excited. I repeat what Coach Edwin said. Take responsibility and just one responsibility at a time. And he said earlier, they talk about in the 5 a.m. club, you just empower and talk about the 3 goals you want to do for the day. So you don't have to really worry about all the problems. Just, focus on the 3 goals you want to really get done that day. Thank you, Coach Edwin. And thank you, everyone,
Thank you
for
so
being
much. Thanks,
here again.
everybody.
Bye.
God bless you. Bye bye.